the Boston Celtics, who have been great throughout the season just because their offense is unlike anything I've seen. Like they have the best offense in the league. They're playing some of the best offensive basketball I have seen in the NBA. Like maybe since I've been watching the NBA, it feels like they are an unstoppable force. They have a 119.5 offensive rating thus far. That is obviously first in the league. I would be interested to run through to see how many teams have had a 14 game stretch where they have a 119.5 offensive rating. I can't imagine that it's many, just to be honest with you. I'll try and look it up while you talk here, but like their offense has just been absolutely insane.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all starts with Jayson Tatum. Like Jayson Tatum is playing at an MVP level right now. What's been wild too is Boston is technically, I think they're the top team in the NBA right now, just looking at win-loss. And it's never really felt like it, which is, I think, almost more impressive. Or impressive is the wrong way to put it, but like I think that's just more indicative of how good this team is because they're still kind of finding themselves, especially on the defensive end. Like they show the flashes late in game when they need to be good in clutch time. They're good at it. Like in that game against OKC, I think part of that was OKC being a young team as well. But I mean, Jayson has just hit the level of like, okay, the floater's there now. Obviously, the shot has been there. His overall pacing and ability to kind of blend everything, like they've been really good at, I mean, I think so much of the offense has been like they've been really good at getting him in his spots, but also like they've used him as a screener, they've used him as a roller. They're doing just kind of all these things that at times in the last couple of years you've always been like, well, what if they just do this? And I think even like as good as the offense was last year, I think there were still moments of like, okay, well, what if they were just like a little bit more inventive or like they made this tweak? And I think part of it too, like Marcus Smart has been really good offensively. Last night he was huge in that game, like his playmaking. Like again, like the shot hasn't been amazing to start the year, but the playmaking has been really good. The drive has been really good. Their guard play overall has been awesome to watch. Like Derek White has fixed his shot. I'm comfortable saying that with just the mechanical changes he's made to it. And he like their offensive continuity is just huge. The ability that they have to continue moving and flowing without really losing anything after the initial dent is really impressive to me. Like, and the bigger thing, not saying bigger thing, but like one of the bigger things in the minutia is Grant Williams becoming like a legitimate dribble pass shoot guy. Like, he is what I'm looking at is 50, 58, 48, 82 right now splits. Obviously that's not going to hold up. I don't expect him to shoot 74% on twos all year, but like he's legitimately, you can't just run him off the line and say, hope that you miss. Like he's good enough with his handle. And clearly, like I remember he was asked before the season what he worked on. He talked about like attacking closeouts, and it very clearly shows. And for like it's just enough, and more than just enough for what they need.
Let's save this for next week on Grant, because you and I want to do a podcast at some point talking about like skills that have kind of changed players' trajectories. So let's maybe do that next week and talk about Grant a little bit more next week, because I think there's like a 6 or 7 minute conversation just to be had about Grant and where he is and how awesome he's been throughout the year. With Jayson, you know, it's really, really interesting just because I feel like Jayson, this is the optimized version of Jayson Tatum now. I actually don't know how you stop him. Like I genuinely do not know how you stop him, because okay, he gets the ball, right? He can take ball screens and now has like the patience and poise to be able to, and the strength also to keep a guy just like right on his hip, right on his shoulder. And then he doesn't need to go all the way to the rim. Like you can't really impact him with a rim protector now because he has the little push shot floater. He obviously can pull up from anywhere on the court. He can pull up from 28 feet if you don't come up on him and close out on him heavily. I just don't know how you stop him as a scorer. Like, do you have any idea? Like, I'm genuinely trying to think like how I would go about trying to defend him if I was game planning how I would go about like trying to frustrate him. I think I would like try and keep him to the sides of the court and like try and like shade him toward like the wings and force him baseline if I could, and like make him take mid-range jumpers, like make him like basically goad him into mid-range jumpers, because I think that's like a better mathematical play than, but like he's going to get to the middle of the court. That's the problem. Like he's so strong now and such a good ball handler and poised ball handler to where once he gets the ball on the wing, he's going to find his way to the middle of the court now. That's, I think, another thing that just like makes him so dangerous. Like it's just genuinely really hard. It's a hard problem to solve. I feel like it's almost an impossible solve now for coaches.
Yeah, that's part of why I'm really interested to see the team play the Bucks, because Boston and Milwaukee have not played one another yet. And the way that Milwaukee's playing defense right now, and really, like, I think a lot of people be like, "Oh, well, they're just playing drop," but what they're doing, they're playing an aggressive drop that's really forcing everything towards the rim. And more importantly, it's like, okay, either you're going to take some of the mid rangers, but yes, we have Javon Carter, Drew Holiday, and eventually Chris Middleton coming on off screens behind you to rear contest you. Like, it's not easy stuff. I think I am interested to see how that holds up for an entire year.
But here's the thing, like it works with Javon Carter when the guy is 6'3". It does not work with Javon Carter when the guy is 6'8" and has a super high release point. Like that's kind of the problem with Jayson now.
No, exactly. But like, I think that's my thing. Like, I think that's maybe the best you're going to do in terms of trying to stop him and slow him down. Like, one of the things that I would be interested to see, like if you're doing some of the forcing him to the sidelines and sending late help after he picks up his dribble, because like that's kind of what I mean, the Celtics had nothing for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that game against OKC last night. So they were sending Jayson off of Lou Dort, and sending from wherever Lou Dort was. They were just sending him and kind of free safety and then recovering off of it. And I think you're kind of in that same place right now with Jayson. Like, I mean, I don't like, I think that I'm probably more comfortable like trying to just make Jayson make the pass and being good enough at recovering behind it, but that requires the personnel to do it and being good. And yeah, I mean, like exactly what you're talking about, like that's superstar shit. And he's been that since January last year. And now he's just hitting another height. And the other thing too, we didn't even hit on it, career high free throw rate, and it's replicable with the way that he's attacking. And that's monstrous.
Yeah, I am just so staggered by his play so far this year. What I have not been staggered by though is the Boston Celtics defense. They are currently 22nd in defensive rating. Look, at first I kind of thought, like I wondered before I like started doing like a dive into it, like is this because they're playing more transition like moments? Like it feels like at times like their games are a little bit faster than what they were like under Ime Udoka last year and under Brad Stevens, but like I don't even really know if that's the case. Like they're 20th in pace right now, and just like naturally when you play faster, it's going to lead to more transition opportunities on both sides of the court, and you know you can balloon your defensive rating a little bit that way, like by like a point per possession, or not a point per possession, like a point per 100 possessions that way, right? But they're not. Like I can't quite figure out why the Boston Celtics are struggling as much defensively as they are, just outside of the fact that it feels like they are not quite protecting the rim as well without Robert Williams around, and that's a issue.
I think it's been part of it, but honestly, like I think their communication's just been pretty lackluster to start the year. Not saying that it's just like a championship hangover. I think that that's, you know, doing too much reductive behavior, but overall, like honestly, I think they just have not been nearly as tight on switches as they were last year. And I think, I mean, like I want to say the first couple months of the year before they had that kind of spark, when they started finding themselves on that end, I think they were only like 14th or 15th in defense. And they were doing a lot of the same stuff. Like you could see the idea of like, oh, okay, well, I get it. But like, all right, well, it's a lot of soft switches. It's a lot of gaps on screens because you're not as tight as you need to be on it. The help principles haven't been awesome. I think, like, to me, Marcus Smart hasn't, like, he's been good defensively still, but I don't think it's been quite the same level. Not having Rob Will is definitely an impactor too, and like they're playing Al Horford less just to conserve him. And like,
but like, here's the thing. So like, I just said, like, I looked up like their percentage at the rim. Like in the restricted area, they're still only allowing teams to shoot 61%. So like, I don't even know. Like it's so bizarre that this is happening to me. So like maybe you're right on the communication. Like maybe that is the fuck up here.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I think I'm not too worried about it. If we hit like January and it's still like this, then sure, I think I'll be worried. But right now, I'm like, especially with how they're winning still, and I need to give me like 2 seconds to look up fourth quarter defensive rating. But I think that they turned it up quite a bit in the fourth quarter last time I checked.
Well, and it's like funny, right? So like they're middle of the pack in above the break 3-point shooting against. They are actually like getting a little bit lucky on like corner threes. It looks like just because teams for whatever reason are not shooting well from the left corner, or no, from the right corner against them from three. Like, I guess that teams are shooting very high in non-paint or non-restricted area paint shots. And that would be like floater range area. So like maybe they're loading up to stop teams at the rim, and not having Robert Williams' length is causing issues like in that floater area.
Do you want to know what the Celtics are in fourth quarter defensive rating?
Are they number one?
They're sixth, but they're very close to number one. They're only 2 point. Yeah, they're less than 2 points away from being number two in defensive rating in the fourth quarter. So like, I think to me, like that's just a lot of like echoing. Like I think a lot of it's communication, and also just who's on the floor. Because like, I mean, with who they've been playing at the 5 times this year, I think that's impacted it. But yeah.
Well, I guess like I say all of this like in terms of like not knowing what the problem is with the Boston Celtics right now defensively, to say like I'm not worried about it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that like your point about fourth quarter defensive rating, like that's huge. The fact that they're that good defensively in the fourth quarter, like that kind of says to me that like it's almost like, okay, we know we can put it on. We can put the clamps down when we need to put the clamps down.